Alright, so I'm going to tell you about medication, having a therapist, and incarceration. I'm going to give you an example of a child. Child is being molested by her dad, or his. This happens to boys at a rate of 1 to 6. 1 in 6 boys in America has been molested. It's a lot of men, too. Now, let's say you're a girl going to your therapist, and you're telling your therapist about your dad molesting you. Right? You go to somebody and you tell them, hey, my dad's molesting me. Say you go to the police, right? And the police require you to see a therapist because you told on your dad for molesting you. So you tell the therapist that your dad molested you, and the therapist prescribes you drugs. So now you're on Ritalin and going to see a therapist because your dad molested you and you told on him. And then after your therapy appointment, you take your pill and you go back home to your daddy for him to do it again. And you get fed up with this. I mean, somebody's supposed to do something, right? When you go to the police, they're supposed to do something, right? When you go to the therapist, they're supposed to do something, right? Well, why am I back at my dad's? Instead of being taken from that environment and taken somewhere safe, I'm drugged now and treated like I'm crazy. So then that girl, she loses hope and she cuts her wrists. And the police, they take her to a mental institution. You know, first time she runs away and she gets busted, you know. That's running away from home. And when she runs away from home, the police give her a choice between juvenile hall or going back to dad's. She goes back to dad's. But when she cuts her wrist, it's different. They take her to a mental institution where she has classes every day about sexual abuse and who it's most likely to be and so on and so forth. And she cut her wrist because daddy was doing things he shouldn't have been doing. And going to the police didn't help. And going to a therapist didn't help. And taking the drugs didn't help. Why didn't they help? Because she wasn't in a safe environment. Her issues were from not having a safe environment. She needed to be taken from that environment and taken somewhere that's a safe environment. But really, how do you do that? How do you do that with the police not willing to do anything? How do you do that with the therapists not willing to do anything? Every therapist I went to, I explained what was going on. I'm an at-risk adult. I can't handle all of this. It's too much. I'm not allowed to freak out. I just have to pretend everything is fine and dandy and normal and perfect and smile and hello, how are you? And I can barely speak, but because I speak well from time to time, then I must not be disabled and it must be okay to put me through this hell. I still don't have a safe environment. If there's screaming going on, it's not a safe environment. If you guys have an argument every month or two, you know, or even one argument a week, that I can recover from. But when it's all day and you need so much emotional support, like Shannon Alvarado, almost non-stop, she needed reassurance about everything. And she obsesses about things and she gets stuck on it. And like when she had to stay sober for a whole week, there was no getting anything done for that week because the whole time she was obsessing about a piss test. She probably asked me about that piss test 300 times. No joke, at least 300. And almost every time I'm like, I don't know, I've never had to take a pee test for alcohol. Well, how do I pass it, Sean? How can I cheat the test? I'm like, oh, don't drink? If you don't drink, you're not going to pee dirty for alcohol. Now, why is it that you're freaking out about peeing dirty for alcohol, Shannon? Why is it that you freaked out about this for a whole week? But I'm not allowed to say something despite the fact that that's one of the issues that was there. One of those issues that very much compounded my problems. And that's the reason that I bring it up, is because it does affect me. Whether you want to admit that it affects me or not, it affects me. And I can't say it or I'm a bad person. I'm giving out your personal info and your personal business. Well, that's very, very, very true. But you should have recognized the situation. You should have understood, or at least tried to comprehend, how it is that I could be shut down by your behavior. By the things that you don't want me to tell anybody. How those things shut me down. You don't want me to tell anybody about your drinking, but that behaviors that you have because you drink shut me down. The arguments that you had with Rick shut me down. Now saying, oh, well, we don't argue anymore. That doesn't matter. Fine, you stopped arguing after I left. That's cool, that's great. But what I'm talking about is the time that I was there. While I was there, how often were you arguing? And meanwhile, I should be typing this out. I should be in there typing it out, but I need to find a safe place. I need to find a safe environment, and that is what consumes me, is that I can't do the things that you want me to do, or the things I need to do to defend myself without a safe environment. I needed help getting my own room. Not a room at Lana and Amanda's. That would have been great if I could have stayed there. But the fact is, it was a very stressful environment. Lana snaps about just about everything. I'm not allowed to open my mouth. She's not going to look at any of the evidence, but her opinion is coming out nonstop. So I just learned not to speak. And I paced. And they judged me for pacing. Well, what am I supposed to do? I'm full of anxiety. I need your help. And instead of helping me, you're screaming at me. And a lot of people say, well, Sean, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a police officer. You don't need to be a police officer or a lawyer to be a witness, to take a look. You don't have to be a judge or a lawyer or a police officer to bear witness to the things that happen to me. I mean, Kara Johnson Miles isn't any of those things, and she was allowed to do whatever she wanted. The media aren't any of those things, and they were allowed to do whatever they wanted. The Bollingers aren't any of those things, and they were allowed to do whatever they wanted. And that's the point, is these people were abusive towards a disabled person, and the United States doesn't care. And that's because they were only allowed to see one side. Back when there was a lot of people looking at it, the police did everything in their power to prevent me from showing the truth, showing how the border police treat us, while people actually cared. And then the slander, just non-stop slander. Me being cut off, me being separated from those who are trying to help. No, I can't function. But because I speak well and because I remember things well, it must mean I'm able to function, right? I'm not. I cannot take care of myself because of the things that happen to me. And as far as putting myself in these positions, that's what you tell a man. With a man, it's his fault for putting himself in that position. But with a woman, it's a man's fault because she's in that position. Everything is a man's fault. Meanwhile, it depends on the man. They let the actual predators go. I literally had to force myself to break the law in order to try to force an outside agency to take a look. People kept telling me to do things I'm not able to do without a safe environment. I need my own place. Because if I'm spending 8 hours a day having a panic attack about when you're gonna scream next because you scream every couple of hours, and I'm spending 4 hours a day trying to jump through the complicated hoops that you want me to, that are expensive and cost me time and resources. I haven't gotten any of the things that I need done yet, and I'm out of resources. And when I'm out of resources, you yell at me, or get pissed off at me, or throw it in my face that, well, that I'm autistic. Like Lana and Amanda did with me pacing, with me playing video games, or at least trying up there. I wasn't allowed to do the things that helped me to cope. Things like building. I love building things. I can't function mentally well enough to get a job. Not without a safe environment. Not without my money back. Not without my disability and my housing back. Moving out of housing in Nebraska was the wrong thing for me to do, but without Tamara there, I didn't have anyone in my corner. Tamara was in my corner. Tamara actually understood. Tamara actually helped. Most of these other folks, I jumped through the hoops that they wanted me to. That was harsh. Trying to jump through Shannon's hoops, that one was difficult because whenever she wanted me to work on something like the tile, well, that was Shannon's whiny time. And I don't mean that as an insult, because it's not meant as an insult. It's meant to explain the situation that I was in. That it's difficult for me. I have to deal with all of my emotions, and now I'm taking all of your emotional baggage too, Shannon. And then I'm taking Rick's emotional baggage. If you need to make everything about you, then you're not able to help anyone. With my situation, I needed to make it about me, and I did. And then people call me selfish. They say, Sean, you just need to take care of you, and I do. And they tell me I'm just being selfish. Helping out Desiree, that was the right thing to do, even though she did steal all my things, or everything of value. And yeah, sure, there's that 1% chance that maybe Kevin McGregor did actually come in with a taser and taser her and carry her from the second story of that building down to his vehicle, and then take the time to go through and find all of my